Hello, I'm Ronnie Eldridge. Welcome to Eldridge and Company. I've missed hearing what my friend Doug Muzzio thinks of this year's presidential primaries. He's the host of City Talk, as well as the professor of public affairs at Baruch College. But he's been on sabbatical this year from both the college and station and not around. I caught up with him last week, and he's my guest today, so welcome.
My pleasure. Let's do it.
So what do you think?
It's real. I mean, I've been following politics actively since 1960, except maybe for the 68 election. This is by far, in some ways, the most bizarre, the most dangerous period in my lifetime. You've got a deeply divided country, and you've got, if you will, you've got these 16 Republicans who, they're crazy. There's a real disconnect between reality and a lot of these candidates. And one of them's going to be the presidential nominee, and one of them might be the vice presidential nominee.
And it's scary.
And I think it is. I think you got demagogues out there.
But can you remember when candidates can lie the way they do and go unchecked?
It's absolutely incredible, the amount of ignorance, prevarication, outright lying, and then doubling down on the lies. I mean, there's no shame to the lying. And when they get called out, they attack the media, for example, and they get huzzas from the crowd. So it's a Paul's time.
And they're so manipulative also of the voters, right? I mean, here's Rubio scaring the hell out of you that this is the end of the world practically.
Well, I mean, fear has always worked. I mean, you know, you go back to Machiavelli and Sun Tzu. I mean, fear is a potent political weapon.
But do you think that when you take the polls, I mean, who commissions these polls? What are these polls?
Well, the polls generally are, well, there's a lot of different polls. Basically, you're dealing with media-related and university-related polls, as well as private firms that do polling. And those are sort of public polls. And then there are the pollsters who do the private polling for campaigns, et cetera. And generally, they're not the same people, even though they may be parts of firms where one part of the firm does one thing and one part of the firm does the other.
So where do they get the names to call? They just randomly, they really randomly pick them?
Traditionally, what you do is you randomly digit dial. The computers then randomly digit dial, and then firms, there are a couple of major firms that take these numbers and then clean them, eliminate dead numbers, business numbers, etc. And then the polling firms buy these lists from the firms.
And what are the universities and newspapers? I mean,
they do the same thing. Basically.
And do they pay for it themselves?
Yes. In fact, Baruch, the survey unit that we have at Baruch, we pay for sample. And sometimes the sample is very, very complicated. So sampling is very important.
And does Baruch then sell your work to somebody?
No, we do it as a public service, and we put it out there. Now, in some cases, for example, we do get paid. For example, we did a major survey for the Department of Health in the city. We're doing one right now for the sanitation department. And yes, we get paid for it. We don't make any money, but we do get paid.
So what do they represent? I mean, how can more than 50% of the people say that they want troops in Syria? How can they say Obama doesn't know what he's doing about it?
Are the answers in a meaningful sense meaningful? What do they mean? And it can mean a lot of different things. One is sort of the general attitude out there. But once you get to specifics, I hate Obamacare. Okay, then you give them a list of what's in Obamacare, and do they agree or disagree? And they're probably going to agree with more than they disagree. So it's ignorance. It's lack of knowledge. But at the same time, you do tap into sort of an underlying psyche. I mean, polls are often used as predictive devices. They're not. But they can give you some evocative information about an electorate.
So are the people, the voters, responsible for what the candidates are saying?
Yeah.
Or are the candidates irresponsible?
Well,
for
both.
what they're saying?
I mean, certainly
just that conflict.
it's mutually interactive, but in a sense, it seems that the audience is driving the show. I mean, after all, it's the audience that votes. So you just have this concatenation of crazy stuff, this whole Syrian refugee issue. I mean, to me, the Syrian refugee issue for the Republicans is Willie Horton 2016. Yeah. All you need is one of these refugees to, blow up a bomb or shoot up a mall,
like
and then it's
going to prison.
Yeah,
right.
It's Mike Dukakis 1988 again.
Right. What surprises me though is take Ben Carson. Who are the people?
No, you take Ben Carson.
Who are the people who are voting for him and or saying they're going to support him in these polls? I mean, stereotypically, you would think these are people who don't like blacks.
Oh, yeah, I think that may be the case, but at the same time, it might be socially acceptable, therefore, to go for a black candidate. I don't think it's driven by race. I think the predominant element is outside a non-pol.
Well, it's definitely not driven by race. Definitely not.
Right.
Right, but I'm surprised that race isn't playing a more important role.
I'm not, in part because it's still early and it's still fringe,
and
we have a black president.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Well, they don't like him. They don't like him.
But it's like Kennedy in '60. You eliminated the Catholic issue to a certain extent, and to a lesser extent, you've eliminated the black issue.
I don't think so, but it's all right.
You can disagree.
I can. Or I will.
It's a hypothesis.
So, can you believe that Donald Trump might be the Republican candidate?
Yes, I can believe it, but I can't believe it. It's just personally astounding to me that someone as ignorant and blustery and self-centered, I shouldn't be surprised, but he's so utterly demagogic that it's really dangerous. I think that, Machiavelli said the mass wants to be deceived. Man, he's doing an excellent job of it. I
think he's most likely a smart guy. I don't understand.
I don't deal in smarts.
I know.
I deal in behavior.
So there has to be a change in the Republican Party, right? Because obviously, I don't think, maybe with the exception of Kasich, but I think he's more conservative than he appears to be.
But at least he's a big state governor.
If they become the candidate, if one of these others becomes a candidate, what happens? I mean, do the conservatives leave the Democrats? Do we get a whole new kind of party?
Do you get a new kind of alignment? I don't know. I mean, that's, you just don't know. But in any situation, you've got really a stark contrast between the likely Democratic candidate, Hillary Clinton, and certainly Bernie Sanders, and any one of the Republican candidates, going from, sort of the crazies like Mike Huckabee, and some of the crazies are gone like Jindal, but you've got some real extreme elements there. Now, if I were and maybe a real partisan Democrat, I want, to a certain extent, I want a Carson Palin ticket. I want the worst possible fool and knave to be running to beat them. But if the fool and knave wins, then we're really in trouble.
Now, the Democratic Party also is a very interesting thing because that's really got a fundamental split in it. I mean, I think Bernie Sanders is really drawing a group of people who really want to change the way the government runs.
Right, and different, not perceptions of the government, attitudes toward the government, and government behavior, yes.
And
yes.
The whole basis, taxes, economic things, everything.
You name it.
It's a very different interpretation.
It's a thoroughgoing critique of the American regime, if you
right.
will.
So do you think Hillary is really being persuaded by the number of people supporting Sanders and is really going to move that much to the left?
She doesn't have to. I don't think.
I don't think so
Sanders.
either.
And
And
she
and
will.
she certainly won't have to in the general election.
No, clearly not. I mean, if there's any move, she's going to, quote unquote, move to the center. But Hillary, for all her liberality and progressiveness, is a relatively moderate centrist Democrat, and particularly in the modern lexicon.
Right. So what do you think? I mean, it's a fundamental change. Is it going to be reflected in state elections?
Well, I mean,
Not
what you've
until
got,
we have the census, right?
Yeah, what you've got. Well, yeah, until the the reapportionment after the census. But with the gerrymandering, you never know. I mean, it can be fixed. Fixed, not corrected, but fixed. Like put in the fix. I mean, these districts are gerrymandered.
But it's kind of a very dangerous situation, isn't it? With what's happening in the world. And what happens in Congress that's really stalled totally.
Yeah, I think we're in a very parlous situation.
Yeah.
You've got a deeply divided citizenry, you've got a deeply divided electorate, and you've got these wild men running around, wild people. I mean, Fiorina is part of the group, running around, and it's just... I hate to have sort of my partisan lens get in the way of my analysis, but you look at them and, wow, it's scary, and particularly the front runners. I mean, Trump is a demagogue. He is dangerous.
Right, and then go next.
You go down the list?
Right.
I mean, excuse me.
Well, I think Carson is out.
Okay, so
He's
basically what you would have to do is you'd have to divide it between those who have a chance and those who don't
Right.
have a chance. Huckabee doesn't have a chance.
Right.
I think ultimately Carson doesn't have
Right.
a chance. I think Lindsey Graham doesn't have a
Right.
chance. Lindsey may be
Yeah.
running for vice president,
Right.
but they don't need him because
Yeah.
the South is going to
Theirs
go
anyway.
Republican anyway.
Right.
So you could go down the list. Who's alive? I guess Cruz, Rubio, Bush, even though he's, a little bit on, getting some IV, and Kasich, but he's not gonna break through. And my governor, Christie, who, would be, he's term limited out anyway, but we'd love to get rid of him.
He's amazing, isn't he?
Not amazing is, that's not the adjective.
But he's
that I
another
would
one that lies.
Yeah,
I don't
he
like to
plays
say
to
they
the
lie,
base.
but they do.
Yeah, I mean, they flip-flop like fish on a beach. I mean, you could go through a whole series of Christie remarks, actions, attitudes from Planned Parenthood on, and in order to satisfy the base, he changes his position. He's a political whore. He turns tricks for what he perceives to be the base. And that's true of lots of politicians, Republicans and Democrats, but it's like the prostitution is so obvious that it's not even subtle. It loses its artistry.
There's a story in the Times about how he's taking such advantage of 9/11.
Oh, please.
And how he's really changing voters' opinions in New Hampshire.
Excuse me. I mean, look at Rudy. Rudy ran as the victim of a murderous act.
But you know what's dangerous is so Rudy was eliminated. He was not a popular mayor, I don't think, when he left. I really don't. At the time he left.
Yeah.
But he's called on to be a commentator.
Right,
On the
right.
news.
I know. He's a commentator on terrorism. It's like
It's
me getting
unbelievable.
mugged and being a criminologist. I mean,
exactly.
he was a crime victim. Excuse me.
Well, let's turn to some of your other local and
Oh,
state.
God. Please. I took my
New-
blood pressure medicine, by the way, so I'm
New York
okay.
State has its two major legislative leaders on trial.
Yeah, and
Can you believe that?
yeah, I can believe it.
And it's nothing's going to change. You think?
Maybe. I think certainly the atmospherics have changed a bit, and I have to believe that, assuming that these people are rational, meaning elected officials who have a proclivity toward the illegal and self-aggrandizement, they're watching out. I mean, it's horrible to say, but you've got Preet. Who's he wiretapping now? So one would think that the fear would make rational actors more circumspect about doing it.
Yeah.
Now, I think the Wall Street Journal had a headline, is it politics as usual or criminal acts? No, it's politics as usual or the criminal acts. And
Yeah.
I think that's what the U.S. Attorney's Office is trying to prove in both cases.
You think they'll get convictions?
That
Who knows?
Who knows? Who
Yeah.
knows?
What about...
I would say yes to both, but I'm not a lawyer, and
Yeah,
I don't
we
know.
don't know. What happened to Barbara? What was her name? Barbara, who ran against Christie for governor.
Oh, see, I forgot.
How do you think she must be feeling now?
Well, I mean, you always have the satisfaction, I guess, in her case, that
The Democratic
she was
Party-
right. Oh,
Yeah,
they
and they
abandoned
deserted
her.
her.
Oh, of course they did, because Christie was going to win.
Yeah.
Christie was a heavyweight,
Yeah.
you know, both literally and figuratively, and they abandoned her. Also, I mean, I don't want to get into the weeds about Jersey politics, but the Democratic bosses in the south of Jersey, Norcross, you know, essentially sat on their hands and implicitly supported Christie because they were getting stuff.
Yeah.
It's deal. The question is, which state is more corrupt? Is it New York or New Jersey? I live in two states. It's like, it's crazy. Which is the most corrupt?
We don't know.
We don't know.
Can't tell.
You can't
Do you
tell.
think this is all the same way all over?
I think the fundamental impetus is there. I think the opportunity is there. I think there's different types of politics. For example, Vermont politics is not this politics. It's a different type of politics. So there is politics out there that's, you know, sort of textbook ideal American small town government
Inclusion
stuff.
and- yeah.
And you're right. But, you know, Illinois, Mississippi, you just name it.
And they're
And they're stealing.
but one of the problems is that we're really not developing talent. It seems to me. I mean, look at the Democratic Party. Even who's going to come next?
I agree. And
Here's O'Malley trying to run.
it's not his time.
Right. Does that mean
It's never going to be his time. But
I was
mean,
going to say, does that mean he's going to be a candidate 4 years from now and win? No.
no, but it's who knows?
And who are we developing to be the next governor?
Nobody, if Andrew can help it. I mean,
Well,
you know,
I know,
no,
but the system is not bringing new talent in, is it? Because it is.
yeah, because in a sense, there's
Who
no.
wants
the
to go
system-
into it?
Well, that's it. I mean, why undergo
The mayor will tell you.
the scrutiny and the brickbats and the disrespect and everything else? I mean, it takes a certain type of psychological makeup to, you know, want to withstand
It's what
all
Sanders
of that.
says, really, is you need a revolution.
Yeah, but you ain't getting a revolution.
I know. Well, how are we ever going to get out of this?
And I guess
think it
John
comes
Maynard
down to-
Keynes gives me some comfort. In the long run, we're all dead. I'm going to be gone.
But it all comes down to, I think, teachers and professors
Can I hug you across
and
the
the cost
table?
of education.
I agree, but there are a lot of educated people who are stupid.
That's true.
And, you know, stupid and ignorant. Stupid meaning lack of intelligence, and ignorant meaning
But I mean,
lack of knowledge.
education may be encouraging people to participate.
Okay.
You know, I'm back
You
to
don't-
my old subject,
Wait a minute.
teaching civics.
Right. You don't want me to go into this, but the argument has been made that we're better off if fewer people participate. You know, long as all people participate, it's good. They're people, we don't want them participating.
All right, yeah. So what does that mean?
That means that in a practical political sense, the more people that are registered, given their socio-demographic characteristics, they're likely to vote Democratic. And therefore, there is an imperative on the part of Republicans, in a sense, not to increase the electoral base because
Right.
you're advantaging your enemy.
Right.
So it ain't going to happen.
Right. And they're constantly doing that.
Right. So you always have this expanding the electorate.
I forgot those arms.
Excuse me. Excuse me. They wouldn't allow me to have coffee on the first couple
I
of years
see.
of the show for good reason. No, I mean that's all part of the contest over the rules of the game.
Right. And you think the rules will never change?
They can change. They have changed. They might change. I'm not capable of figuring it out.
Do you think the Speaker of the City Council is changing the rules a little bit as to the role of the Speaker?
Yeah, I think she is. I think it's a different council. When I got into the council, as chief
Many
of
years
staff
ago.
up to 1978, and really followed it through, both,
Right.
as an
Who
observer.
that was Tom Cute's day?
Yeah, Tom Cute. I mean, he ran. It was we were part of the quote unquote liberal caucus.
Right.
I was chief of staff.
Which, how many people?
I think there were 5 of us, and they were almost all from Manhattan. And I was Tony Olivieri's chief of staff. We used to get the budget the day after it was adopted. I mean, it was absolutely awful. So the charter in '89 changed it. Peter Vallone changed it, even though you and he had some really wonderful battles. I mean,
But members had
no
didn't have
power.
no power at all. Now
No, and it loosened up a bit under Gifford, and Gifford Miller, and then it loosened a little bit more under Chris Quinn. And I think it's different now. The council's different. It's younger, it's greener, it's more ideological. I think it's more left. So and they chose the speaker. So I mean, in a sense, the speaker reflects the body. So it's a different body.
Now, where are those council members going to go? Here you've got bright, talented young people, younger, right?
And they're going to be term limited after
They're
8
term
years.
limited. So does that end their careers, or
Well, it could. I mean, certainly
It's so
what it can do
the
is...
system doesn't work any?
Well, it doesn't. There's not enough
Not that
positions.
I'm in favor of that.
Right, but there's not enough positions above for them to do it. So that you'll have jockeying. You'll have councilmen going to the assembly. And don't forget, the 2-term limit is consecutive terms. They could come back and run again. They could go to the assembly. They can go to the Senate. Or they get out of politics, or they become consultants and lobbyists.
Right, it's true. So tell me, what else are you doing? Are you writing a book?
Yeah, I am. I'm writing.
What are you writing a book
Oh,
about?
please. I'm writing a book on the image of cities in silent movies. I'm looking at the relationship between cities and cinema, and I'm focusing in on silent movies. I'm a movie lunatic, no film background, and I've been writing about it for 2 decades, and I decided I'm going to do it, put in a proposal, they accepted it, and I'm writing a book.
So what are you saying in it?
I'm saying that the image of the city has changed over time, that movies were instructive and they shaped opinion about cities, and that those images interact with other elements to form sort of our worldview of cities. So we'll see.
Are we getting?
It's got pictures.
Are we getting back to city? Oh, you're only doing silent movies.
In this particular paper, I've done a lot of stuff, not only on American cities, but British cities as well.
Are we getting back to more cities than suburban stuff?
Well, in the United States, you see a lot of this reverse movement. I mean, there's millions of people moving all the time in other directions, but cities are still magnets. Now, ISIS wants to change that, in part with the bombing of Paris and the targeting of, Brussels, New York, and other major cities. I mean, they understand that the cities are the centers of culture and civilization. You got to attack the cities.
It's very, yeah.
So, I mean, the city's essential. And despite the fact that I live in suburban New Jersey, I'm a Queens kid. I'm a city kid. I've always lived, worked, had kids, married. The city.
Right.
And if you live in the best city, come on.
So now let's shift back to politics. When you come into the city, do you see changes here from a couple of years ago?
You know what? Essentially, no. But one thing that I have noticed is that there are more homeless people out, more street people. It's just simply more visible. It's not the 80s, but it's
there.
palpable. There is a change. Otherwise, I think the city is as safe or safer as it's ever been in my lifetime. I think that it's vibrant, it's noisy. I think the mayor's got a bit of a bad rap. I mean, some of his problems have been self-inflicted. You point the gun at your foot and your kneecap. But all in all, just as we were talking about before, there's a real disjuncture between reality and the perception of that reality. Crime rates. If you ask people in a survey, is crime going up? Yeah, crime's going up. Unemployment's high. And then you check it against the facts, and it's not true. But the old saying is perceptions are real and they govern behavior. But I don't think he's doing that bad a job.
Do you, you just reminded me of something, of perceptions. There's a move to not allow anybody on the list of dangerous people or suspicious people to buy guns.
Don't start.
And there you have what they're saying.
I know. You can't respond, Ronnie. It's total idiocy. Let's give terrorists guns. I mean, the NRA, there's got to be a point at which their fundamental absurdity
I was going
and
to
their
ask you,
dangerousness.
do you think Congress is going to rise?
No,
to
I don't
this?
know if Congress.
You think in their interest of not allowing anybody in the country and everything else, they're not going to say don't sell guns? They're not. I thought of that.
But they are them. The Congress is them.
Yeah.
It's not that they're somehow a group that's being taken over by them. Of course, there are the whores, but a lot of them are them. Cruises are them.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So have you enjoyed this?
Are you kidding me? You're going to invite me back.
I will. But do you miss your program?
Yeah, I do miss it. I read the paper and say, oh, wow, Colin McCann just wrote a new book. This is going on in politics. This is going on in the theater, all that stuff. But then I say, oh, all that work and homework. And you do the same things, staying up nights, reading the books, you know.
So your program usually follows me, and I hope to have that happen again in the future.
It will.
And anytime you want to come back on.
You invite me.
All right. Well, you let me know also.
I'll come whatever.
Okay, thank you very much.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Doug Muzzio. If there are any people you'd like to hear or topics you'd like us to explore, please let me know. You can write to me at CUNY TV, 365 Fifth Avenue, New York, New York, 10016. Or you can go to the website at cuny.tv and click on Contact Us. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.